Hi there, Sage Kende of VO2 Max Productions here with another training talk. Today we're going to talk about race day routine, race day nutrition, and this is mainly applicable to anyone running a marathon, half marathon, up to the ultra marathon distance. And this is kind of my routine. It's not necessarily something that I'd recommend even following to a T, but it's just kind of something that's worked for me over the years. Worked well for me, I should say, over the years in my 15 years of year-round racing and training. So to start off, the first thing I do race morning is I usually wake up at least 3 or 4 hours before the start of the race. It's something I've done ever since high school, racing 5Ks and shorter distances, and I usually like to eat breakfast around then, 3 hours to 4 hours before I start the race. Now in the longer races, usually you could get away with maybe eating a little closer to the start of the race. Like if I was doing a 100-mile ultra marathon, I'd probably do that. But for 50-mile ultras or shorter, usually like a couple hours to digest my food, drink some coffee, get in my routine, go to the bathroom, things like that. And what I eat for breakfast? Well, it's usually mainly a pretty heavy carb diet. I'll usually eat a bar, such as this bar you see here, a Yugo bar, or some sort of high carb, a little bit of protein, a little bit of fat, as well as some toast, bagel or some wheat bread with some almond butter, peanut butter, whatever on it with my coffee. And I'll usually eat that over 20 or 30 minutes to just kind of digest, drink my coffee, drink a lot of water, hydrate, go to the bathroom. Then about 20 minutes before the start of the race, I'm doing a little warm-up, I'm stretching a little bit, maybe just a 5-minute jog. Don't want to burn too many calories before you start an ultra race. Just to kind of get the blood flowing, do some light stretching, go to the bathroom one last time. Then I'm going to have another gel, which is about 100 calories. And I'll take these V-Fuel gels every 20 minutes going into the race. And usually I'll wait about 30 minutes before the start of or after the start of the race. 30 minutes in, I'll take my first one just to kind of burn fat for that first 30 minutes, hopefully, because you're starting off conservatively. And so I take a V-Fuel gel every 20 minutes from then on, and that'll go for 6 hours, 8 hours, basically taking 3 an hour. And I'm filling up a handheld hydration flask. I use my trusty Ultimate Direction, 20 to 22 ounces of pure water to start, and I'll mix it in. I'll start putting in some electrolyte tablets into the water, some fizz I use more recently. Before I was using Gatorade, but I decided that was too much sugar, not really good for you. And I'll be drinking that mainly just to stay on top of electrolytes, or sodium, potassium, things like that. And after that, maybe 20 or 30 miles in, I'll start to get pretty desperate when the chips are down. And I'll start taking some Lay's potato chips. I usually would never eat those, but sometimes a little bit of salt, solid food feels good. A little bit of fat kind of helps, the grease kind of helps the V-Fuels go down. So I'll be eating those maybe after several hours. And I think the salt kind of helps with muscle cramps. Some people take a lot of sodium pills. I usually have a couple S-caps or things like that in my pocket, but I usually use those pretty sparingly because it can upset your stomach. So that's kind of my routine with that. And then I'm drinking a little bit of Coke maybe at that point, but still mainly hydrating with water at every aid station stop or every basically 4 to 6 miles. I'm drinking 20 ounces of mainly water, taking a gel every 20 minutes. And that's, not something I'd recommend for everyone. I think mainly it has to do with your work output and how many miles you cover. So for me, maybe running at Lake Sonoma 50, I'm doing close to 3 miles in 20 minutes, maybe 2.8. But for other people, maybe you don't want to take a gel every 20 minutes because maybe if you're running 10-minute mile pace, that's only a gel every 2 miles. So maybe you want to take a gel probably about every 3 miles. Or if you're racing a road marathon, you could probably get away with taking a gel once every 5 miles. I'd do 8 miles into the run, 12 miles, 16, 20 miles in, I'd be taking a gel. And that's really a good strategy to use for most people. Drink it with a little bit of water to help absorb the contents of the gel, mainly carbohydrate again. And then, latter stages of a race, things start to go bad. They always do for me, whether it's muscle fatigue or maybe a little stomach distress. You're not getting as much blood flow to the system, so it makes sense that things like that would happen. But you got to stay on top of your hydration, your balance with electrolytes, sodium balance. The osmolality in your stomach is going to change as you get dehydrated and as your muscles, as you start sweating out sodium, things change. And that's kind of an individual thing, as well as what your favorite food is. For me, I need to start focusing on my favorite flavor of V-Fuel gels, which is peach cobbler. For other people, maybe they'll start eating chips or salted potatoes or even meat. I don't eat meat, but some people will eat bacon or something. If you're Dean, you'll get a roadside pizza, which actually sounds good maybe after 60 or 70 miles. So, there are different strategies out there. This is just my race day routine. I try to stay relaxed and be consistent with the calories and to get them in, because when the shit hits the fan towards the end of the race and you're kind of bonking, sometimes you have to get desperate. You might take 2 gels at once, or you might have to force down a gel or force in calories. I know from personal experience, my disaster at UROC, after Minturn with 12 miles to go, I was bonking really hard. I was like, I'm sick of gels, I don't want to take any more. I'm just not going to take any. And that was a bad idea, because then I just bonked even worse, and I had to sit down and stop in the middle of the race, sit down in the trail and just hang my head and want to fall asleep and things like that. So, definitely keep the calories coming in if you can, and if you're puking, that's going to also be an ongoing battle. And you don't want to get dehydrated either with muscle cramps. I found with muscle cramps, usually for me it's muscle failure, sheer muscle failure, just trying to run a pace I can't sustain. My legs are actually cramping, hamstrings cramp up, I have to stop and stretch. It's debilitating, you have to walk, it sucks. But other people, if you lose a lot of sweat, if it's hot, it could be because of sodium, potassium, electrolyte imbalance, and that could cause cramping as well, which is also really, really debilitating. So that's kind of my spiel on race day routine, race day nutrition. That's what works for me most of the time. I'm constantly changing it, trying to learn new things. And final plug for Wings of Life World Run. That's my next event on May 4th in Denver. And it's a race that's taking place all across the world all at the same time. And for an early start ultra like that race, a lot of ultras start pretty early in the morning. I'll be getting up at 2 or 3 a.m. At least. And the night before, you don't have to worry about sleeping as much. I always have pre-race nerves, and I usually only get a couple hours of sleep anyway. So the night before that, though, is really the more important one for sleep, and trying to be consistent all week. Going into your race, I think, is the most important thing with that. But back to Wings of Life World Run. Really excited to help promote this event. It's a charity that's near and dear to my heart. You have a couple more days to sign up for it. Check out the website, wingsforlifeworldrun.com. See if there's one near you. It's taking place all across the world. First place prize is a trip around the world, international airline ticket. So that's pretty sweet, and 100% of the entry fee goes towards spinal cord research. As I mentioned earlier in my other videos, my sister Ming is coming in from New York to do the Denver event with me, and she'll be in her wheelchair. So I hope to see you out there. And thanks again for all the views and all the support. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.